Now, I do have a block of chocolate for the person who manages to count every time I say the word suddenly. Pastor Joe will be on to that. Did you bring the box of chocolate? Oh, okay. All right. I will owe you a block of chocolate if you can count every time I say the word suddenly. You get it right, and you win a block of chocolate. Whatever your favourite chocolate is, and we'll make it happen.
What if we win that?
Well, you can probably be very generous and give it to somebody else.
No, bring it.
All right. The title of the message today is called God Has Suddenlies. Turn to your neighbour and say, God has suddenlies. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we pray that every ear is open, every heart is ready to receive. Lord, we pray that you give me the words to speak, that these words are anointed by you. They're not just from me, but they are from heaven above, and they're going to transform lives. They're going to touch hearts with your word. And Father, your word shall not return void. Father, it will go forth and accomplish that which you have assigned it to. And Father, we just pray for every single person in this place to have a fresh revelation of who you are and what you're doing and what you're about to do. So Father, we just pray for our spirits to open to receive by the grace of God right here today. And the church agreed? He said amen. All right, can we have the first image, please, Grace? Suddenly. It's an interesting word, isn't it? Suddenly. Now, I got a question for everyone. Have you ever had a suddenly happen to you in your life? Yes or no? Has something suddenly happened in your life? If you haven't had a suddenly happen to you, then you've been playing it too safe and you need to get out more. If you didn't raise your hand, life's too easy for you. Now, have you ever had something happen to you suddenly? You woke up in the morning and you expected a normal, everyday day. But then something happened suddenly during that day, and then that night you went to bed and things were entirely different in your life. Have you ever had one of those days? See, something happened suddenly, something that changed your life forever, and your life would never ever be the same as a result of that suddenly. I don't know who's counting suddenlies, but someone's going to win the block of chocolate. That's 10. And he's on to it.
You're on 12.
Yeah.
12.
I'm on 12.
Now I know.
Nobody's counting the two he said before he started.
Oh,
Hey, that's what he did.
there it is. Jamie's taking notes, so she'll be putting the kiss on the side. Now I know that some suddenlies can be tragic. They can be gut-wrenching, they can be heartbreaking, and they can be painful. But did you know that some suddenlies can be very exciting, they can be very beautiful, and they can be such a great blessing? Suddenly, we have a new baby boy in our congregation named Spencer. Suddenly, the Imagine project has taken off, and by the grace of God and the generosity of the people, there is $17,700 in the account. Praise God. Suddenly, children's church is taking shape. A dogger has appeared out there with some beautiful full-stacker doors. A flat-screen TV is mounted, electricity is hooked up, and we're ready to put some flooring down and order some beautiful furniture, and the cabinetry is being made, and pretty soon the resources will all gather in that room and we'll work out some people to run that ministry, and then children's church will actually be a reality. How awesome is that? Yeah, if you build it, they will come. Suddenly, we were given all the audio-visual equipment we need for this moment in time. How generous is our God? And how generous are the people who have given us all of that we need? Suddenly, we see people healed of incurable diseases. I like that, because that means God is moving. Suddenly, we have answers to prayer. We see that a lot in our church. And sometimes when God doesn't answer prayers for a very good reason, because he has something better. Amen? Later on. Now let's just have a quick look at some funny suddenlies. Now, truth is, friends, Suddenlies happen to ordinary, everyday people like you and me. They're not for someone special. They're for everyday people like you and me. Let's have a look at this first suddenly. Suddenly, you can have an oven in the front of your car. That's scary, isn't it? The next suddenly you can have a giant muffin land on the top of your car. The next suddenly, you can have 1,000 badgers come into your backyard at night. That's weird, isn't it? The next suddenly you can be driving along and a koala climbs up from the back of your car and covers your face. That's scary, isn't it? You don't have koalas in Vanuatu, do we? Just as well. Watch out for the drop bears when you're in Australia, if you haven't been told. The next suddenly you could find 1,000 or 2,000 ducks coming down the road to meet you. And here's the last suddenly you could find a goat in your lounge room and it could be jumping like you're jumping. Look at that. That's scary, isn't it? Thanks, Grace. Back to the next one. Now, those images just capture the essence of what happens suddenly. Things can happen suddenly. And today I'd like to share with you some suddenlies that are in the Bible. I'm sure you would agree that the suddenlies in the Bible have changed the course of history forever. Just as the suddenlies that happened in your life have changed your life forever. Now let's start at the beginning. I just want to read to you out of the book of Genesis. Genesis 1, as a matter of fact. That's the beginning. And it says this. You can turn with me in your Bibles if you wish. Genesis 1 to 5. It says this. In the beginning. Everybody say, in the beginning.
In the beginning.
God created the heavens and the earth.
God created the heavens and the earth.
The earth was without form and it was void. What does void mean? Nothing. Nothing. Just nothing. There's nothing there. And darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God, everybody say Spirit of God,
Spirit of God,
was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, and he saw that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and he called the darkness night. So the evening and the morning had become the first day. Now where am I going with Genesis 1:5? First there was nothing, then suddenly God spoke. Then suddenly the heavens and the earth existed. Then suddenly there was light. And the light was good. Then there was nighttime and daylight, and suddenly there was the first day. See, suddenly start right in the first page of your Bible, and they go all the way to the end of the Bible. If we go back to verse 2, it says this, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Everybody say hovering.
hovering.
Who's ever been in a hovercraft? Who'd like to go on a hovercraft? You see, sometimes our lives can look like they have no shape or form. Sometimes our lives can feel like they're void, which means empty, nothingness. Sometimes our lives can seem like dark, barren places, but look what happens when God speaks. Look what happens when the Spirit of God hovers over the waters. Look what happens when the Spirit of God hovers over your situation, when He's hovering over your circumstances that are way out of your control. Look what happens when God speaks. And look what happens when God brings light into the situation. Look what happens when God brings light into your circumstances, and you can see what's real and what is a lie. Suddenly God divides the light from the darkness. Why? Was it just to make a day? No. It was so that we could live in the light. You see, Jesus is the light of Christ. His Holy Spirit is that light that comes into every situation, comes into every life with your permission, comes into every circumstances that is way beyond what we can control, and it brings light. And when there is light, the darkness has to flee. Is there amen in that? That's the word of God. You see, this is the light that searches every heart. Who's ever had their heart searched by God? Sometimes it's not real pleasant, eh? But when your heart is searched by God, that light comes in and it exposes anything that's not of God, and His blood cleanses you, washes you. Spirit of God moves in, and all of the sin moves out. Amen? And then you are a new creation in Christ Jesus, meant and built and designed and born for more, because that's His plan for your life. But He needs the light. The light has to come in. You see, it's the light that illuminates the vision that God has for each and every one of us in His house. Now, you might not be able to see it in the natural. You might not be able to feel it in the natural. But your suddenly is coming. I don't know if you've ever been really sick and you think, I'm going to die. You might have had the man flu, which is worse than anything, of course. And we need to be looked after a lot more because we're very delicate. And we need, drinks of juice. We need a warm blanket. Can you please turn the TV on? Can you put a nice cool back on my fire? Yeah, hot water for my belly.
Some ice cream.
Yeah, some ice cream. But you think you're never going to get better. But the truth is that when you start to get better, all of a sudden you feel better. And you can stand up. Sometimes it's not suddenly. But then you realise suddenly that you're well again. Amen. You see, God has a blessing that's going to overtake you. That's what the Word of God says. It overtakes you. I like that. God has a blessing that's so big that you can't contain it. Why would you want to contain a blessing anyway? Wouldn't you want to share that? Come on. You see, God has a blessing so great that it's going to bless all of us and all of our church. God has a blessing that is so awesome that it's going to bless our entire community. God has a blessing that is so good that it's going to change your life forever. And that blessing is going to be revealed next Sunday, right here in this church. Something miraculous, something bigger than Ben-Hur, something fantastic, something that's holy, solid. It's just going to be an amazing Sunday next Sunday. So don't miss it if you can. It's going to be an amazing day. Friends, I believe that in the heart of every person is the cry to make this world a better place. Hands up if that's you. Hands up if you really want to make this world a better place. Amen. In the heart of every person is the cry to see people saved. If you're a believer and you've been saved and you're born again, that in your heart is the cry for someone else to experience what you've experienced. In your heart is the cry to see somebody saved. In your heart is the cry to see somebody healed and set free from anything that might have been holding them back. Because you know that God is good. Because you've tasted and seen that God is good. And you want for that for the person. No ulterior motives, no selfish motives, other than the thing that God put it in your heart that you are to be a blessing to other people, that you are to be a pipe that transfers the blessing and not a pot that contains the blessing. You are the spiritual earthen vessel that is filled with the Holy Ghost, that has to be filled and filled and filled and pours out on other people and pours out on a circumstance and pours out on a situation and it pours out where God's grace needs to be. In my 50 years so far, I've learned that we have three options in life. Tell your neighbour you've got three options. You've got three options. Option number one is to give up on your dreams. Option number two is to keep on dreaming. Is there any dreamers in the house?
Yeah.
Anybody here got in trouble at school for daydreaming? Looking out the window? Every day. She's honest. Option number 3 is to wake up and live the dream. I like option number 3. You see, friends, you get to choose option 1, 2, or 3. Option 1 is getting up. It only requires doubt to make it happen. That's all you need. Option number 2, if you want to keep on dreaming, it requires hope to keep it alive. While option number 3, to wake up and live the dream, requires faith. Now I have to say that option number 3 is not for everybody. Option number 3 usually requires faith that cannot be shaken. Option number 3 usually demands great commitment to the vision. It also demands great commitment to the prophetic words that have been spoken over your life. You see, friends, great commitment is necessary to handle the workload that's required. There is a workload involved to see God's vision for your life come to pass. You can come up for an altar call, you can receive prayer, you can receive a prophetic word, but unless you start to move in the direction that God wants you to go in order for that prophetic word to come to pass, that word will stay on the shelf. You see, friends, the Bible is clear that we are to put our hands to the plough and not look back. Is there anybody here that's done any ploughing in their life? Have you seen it on TV? What about Little House on the Prairie? One of my favourite shows. Used to make me cry. John was his name, John Ingle, Mr. Ingle. He would go out in the morning with his straps on and he would plough. Walk behind the ox or the beast that was digging the plough. He never looked back because he was on a mission. He had a plan. God showed him to care for his family. He built that little house out in the middle of the prairie. Do you see? We've got to put our hands to the plough and not look back. I pray that you will stand with your pastors as we put our hands to the plough and we don't look back, to see God's vision for the people of this town come to pass. God's got a great vision for this church. Are we going to walk with God closer to that vision along the lines that He wants us to walk so that that vision will come to pass? You see, to see God's vision for the people of this town come to pass, that's what we need to do. If you don't have a vision of your own, that's okay. Why not get beside your pastors and run with that vision? Why not support them and encourage them? Send them a nice message occasionally. Just love your pastors, bless your pastors. Get beside what they're doing. Say, can I help with that vision? What can I do to bless God and to bless the church and to bless you? How can I be part of that vision that it is going to change my life? How can I be part of that vision that is going to reach people for this community, in this community for Christ? How can I be part of that vision that is going to send missionaries to Vanuatu? How can I be part of that vision that runs a children's ministry and we see children captured, their hearts captured with the love of Christ so that they've got a strong foundation for when the storms come, that they won't be moved. Amen? Sometimes the Christian journey is just plain hard work. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Sometimes it's hard to be a Christian. Amen? But the rewards are worth it. Amen? We have a reward on this earth, the Bible says, and you shall have rewards in heaven. Amen? The truth is, we can't have good fruit without planting good seed. And I'm here to tell you there's been so much good seed planted in this church in the last 13, 14 years that we've been going, that there's going to be a harvest. And it's in our lifetime, and we are going to see it. And I pray that this is a church where the altars are full, and people are saved, and people are healed, and people are set free, because that's when the Spirit of God is moving. And this is a church that's Spirit-filled. And when the Spirit comes in, not by power, not by might, but by my Spirit, says the Lord, and your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams. And God is, He's out on the move in the Spirit, because what He wants to see is the Holy Spirit cover this country, Australia, great south land of the Holy Spirit, and it's going to rise up with little churches in little towns. And we are Plan A. You see, we can't have the blessing without being obedient. Sometimes we want all the things of God, but we're not prepared to get up our backsides and do what He's asking us to do, and I'm guilty. But God has a blessing. The Apostle James says it best in James 2:17. He says, faith without works is dead. James nails it. I bet some of the other apostles didn't like that much. But James nailed it. Can we get to heaven by works? No. But there are works that we do that God has called us to do, because we are the eyes, the ears, the hands, feet of Jesus on the planet, ready to build the kingdom with Him. We are co-laborers with Christ. Now, you might be in a hard place right now. I've been in a hard place this week. I've had vertigo, I've had vomiting, I've just not been well. But you might have been in a hard place this week. But God has a plan to deliver you if you will just stay in faith. Why? Because the hard places, the pain and the suffering, is the place where we are trained to be overcomers. Who's ever watched those movies on TV where the commandos, the SAS, Special Armed Services, the commandos, they take them out in the middle of the bush with no food, no water, and make them run through the mud, crawl through the mud, and leave them out in the wilderness for a week at a time with a trainer who trains them to work in hard places so they toughen up, so they get strength, so they know how to survive. Those commandos get trained in the hardest, darkest places so that they can be overcomers. How much more should we as Christians be trained in those dark nights where we're weeping on our pillow? How much more as Christians should we be trained when there's a tragedy come, but we know that God is sovereign and God has a plan, and what the devil intended for evil, God will turn for good. Come on. We know as Christians that when we get sick or something happens or whatever, that this too shall pass. This too shall pass, because we know God has a better plan. We know God is going to give us a breakthrough. We know that this is going to change because we stay in faith. Truth is, church, the light of Christ can come into the darkest of places or into the hardest of circumstances. And then the darkness has to flee. Who's ever been in a really dark room, can't find the light switch? You stumble over the furniture, you hit your shins on things. But when you find the light switch, it's easy. It's just easier when you find the light switch. The Bible says this, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. How many? All. Does some deliverance take a little bit longer than others? Yes. But that's the training ground. Don't despise the training ground, because there's a growth gap. See? When God said, you're healed, and you're lying there sick as a dog and thrown up in a box and a bucket and you can't get out of bed and the room is spinning. That's where you are right now, but that's not the reality of what God said. There's a gap between where you're sick and when you're healed. That's called a growth gap. And that growth gap is what Christians grow when they grow the biggest time, through the hardest times. Amen. 2 Corinthians 4:8 says this, we may be pressed on every side. Who's ever been pressed on every side? Yet not crushed. Who's ever felt like they've been crushed? We may be perplexed, but not in despair. We may be persecuted, but not forsaken. We may be struck down, but not destroyed. If we just keep our hearts right before the Lord and we press into Jesus Christ as we be obedient to His word, if we keep our eyes on Jesus and we keep a good attitude and we have a right heart, then we can say, it is well with my soul.
Amen.
Who knows that your soul is your mind, your will and your emotions? The problem is sometimes our Christians, we're soul-driven. But I would challenge all of us here this morning to say that we need to be spirit-driven. Because when the Spirit drives the soul, the Spirit of God drives the soul, it will be well with your soul. Trying to work it the other way, having the soul, trying to drive the Spirit, I think we're in for trouble. But God has a plan. One of the best things that we can do as Christians is to be on the watch for our breakthrough. Be ready for your breakthrough. Wait patiently for your suddenly. Now, I don't know what your suddenly is. It might be a child coming back to Christ. It might be physical healing. It might be mental healing. It might be emotional healing. It might be going home to Vanuatu to see your wife and your family. But suddenly you'll be on the plane. Suddenly you'll be landing in Vanuatu. Suddenly you'll have your arms of your wife around you and you'll be able to hug your kids. Suddenly you'll be able to move in the Spirit over there and build the ministry that God's called you to do. Suddenly your kids will be grown up, left home, and getting jobs. There's lots of suddenlies. Be ready for your suddenly. Wait patiently for your suddenly. For Jesus said the kingdom of God is at hand. Now, I love this country, Australia. Anybody here love this country, Australia? We have a blessed country. Amen. It is the best country. I love this country. But I speak prophetically when I see a spiritual drought. Not in this church. But I see spiritual drought when I watch Parliament on TV at 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh my goodness. God help us.
I mean, there's rage.
I suppose. I guess you were trying to get back to sleep.
I was trying to get back to
It
sleep.
is boring.
It is boring.
It's so did put me to sleep. But I believe there's a spiritual drought when I see Parliament on TV or I turn on the news. When I see the media twist everything with the spirit of Leviathan. The Bible says the spirit of Leviathan twists everything. And it's alive and well in the media to portray to you all of the bad stuff that's going on. You see, the only person that can break the drought is Jesus Christ. You can talk to the average person up the street. They're hungry. They're probably lonely. They're probably thirsty. And the only person with bread and water, the living water that I know of, is Jesus Christ. Truth is, friends, this world is ready to be shaken by believers with passion in their hearts. Is there anyone in the house with passion in their hearts? Friends, this world is ready to be transformed by believers who are willing to take risks. You say, Pastor Nigel, you can't say that. I said, I can, because when you step out in faith, it's called risky faith. If God tells you to give that person $50 and that's all you've got, that's risky faith. But in reality with God, there is no risk because He's got it covered. When you're uptown and you walk past someone and God says, go back and pray for those people, they just need a bit of encouragement, and you do it, that's a risk because you might be embarrassed. That person might say no. But with God, you will not fail. He tells you to do it, He's going to cover it. And then suddenly, everything changes. Amen. See, a spiritual drought is broken when the latter rain comes. Just as a natural drought is broken when the normal rain comes. The pitter-patter on the roofs. Who's ever waited for that? Who's ever said, thank you God when it comes? But a spiritual drought is broken when the latter rain comes. And I believe God is searching the earth for the believers who are ready to catch the rain. We see the revivals all around the world. They're rain catchers. They're catching the rain. Do we have any rain catchers in the room? Is there anybody here who's ready to start catching the rain? Now, I found that the word suddenly appears 87 times in the Bible. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I also found that when one of God's suddenlies, who's counting? When one of God's suddenlies appears, this suddenly was birthed through faith and obedience to God's word. This suddenly was birthed through faith and obedience to God's word. Consistent, persistent, unshakable faith in God is the best fertile soil that you can have to see your suddenly come to pass. Here's some examples for us. By faith, Abraham at the age of 86 years believed God for a child. And his suddenly came in the form of Isaac. By faith, Noah built the ark. And after about 75 years of blood, sweat and tears, suddenly Noah had a boat. Noah had a very, very big boat. Then Noah had another suddenly. Suddenly, the rains come. There had been no rain on the earth before that, is that right? Suddenly the rains come. And that's a prophetic picture of this time we're living in now. Is there any rain catchers in the house? Noah had another suddenly. When the big boat started to float, suddenly the boat started to float and it contained all the DNA that was needed to repopulate the earth. How good is that? Suddenly this very big boat was floating. The hope of mankind and all the animals. By faith, Joshua led the Israelites into the promised land. Suddenly, after 40 years of stuffing around in the wilderness, Joshua and the younger generation were on the other side of the Jordan River. And nothing was ever going to be the same again. Paul and Silas were in jail at what time? Midnight, singing praises and hymns and psalms to God. And suddenly there was an earthquake. Suddenly the big steel gates fell off their hinges and their fetters were undone and the chains broke and they walked out free men. There's some suddenlies. You see, friends, faith will show you things that others just can't see. Faith gives you an intelligence that is needed to do what God's called you to do. How do you think Noah built the ark? God gave him that. See, this God kind of faith challenges the natural. There is a collision course between heaven and earth. There is a collision course between the Spirit of God and what's happening with man on this planet. This God kind of faith causes us to have the capacity to believe for the impossible. Is there anyone in the house that believes for the impossible? Amen. You see, because my Bible says, because with God all things are possible. You see, the devil is not excited about God's vision for us as a church to reach this community. The devil is not excited about the Imagine Project. I can tell you that now. The devil is not excited about this church being everything that God's called it to be and to making a difference in somebody's life. But God is. And you and God are the majority. You're on the winning team. I've read the last page of my Bible that says we're. I want to be on the winning team. Is there anyone who wants to be on the winning team? Go Queensland this week. We won. Okay, you'll pray for him later. Yeah, suddenly Queensland won.
But I had a miracle.
You did?
I didn't cry for a month after.
All right, you didn't cry. Friends, I believe that as we come together as a church after the heart of God, that He's going to pour out a blessing of biblical proportions. Seems impossible, but with God all things are possible. As we love one another, like the Bible says to do, God is going to pour out His latter rain in this house and on this ministry. And as I close with this scripture on the screen, thank you, Grace. 1 Corinthians 2, 9 and 10. And I'd like for all of us to read it together, because when you read it, you make it your own. It's not just me speaking. Let's read it together. But as it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love Him. But God has revealed them to us through His Spirit. For the Spirit searches all things, yes, deep things of God. And the only way Australia is going to have revival is with the deep things of God. I don't know about you, but I want to go deeper with God. I want my relationship to be something special. I want a deeper intimacy with my Creator. I need it. I cannot survive without it. And I hope that you are the same. And as we search for God, as we thirst for God, as we hunger for God, you watch what He's going to do. Because He's going to say, they're my kids. They're my kids. And they're building my kingdom with me. And I'm going to bless them. And I'm going to shower them with blessings. And I'm going to pour out a blessing that they can't contain. And I'm going to deliver them out of every affliction, because they're my righteous kids. They're my righteous kids. And there is going to be some movement by my Spirit, says the Lord. Amen. There's going to be some movement.